Wouldn't it be great to manage your portfolio on one platform? Well, now you can trade all in one place on Robinhood. That means you can trade individual stocks and ETFs and also buy and sell crypto using seriously powerful and intuitive tools at one of the lowest costs on average without needing to manage multiple apps. Robinhood makes withdrawing and depositing crypto seamless. Send crypto to your Robinhood account or send crypto from your Robinhood account to other wallets without deposit or withdrawal fees from Robinhood. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Network fees may apply to crypto transfers. Crypto transfers may not be available to all customers. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
When Danielle Abril applied for a sales job with a jewelry company, the email she got in reply came not from a human, but from a virtual recruiter.
And they say, I'd like to call you tomorrow at 3 p.m. or whatever to set up a screening interview with you.
Danielle is actually a reporter for the Washington Post who covers the labor market. But with the jewelry company's blessing, she wanted to go through a process that more and more workers are experiencing: interviewing for a job with an AI recruiter.
It sounded somewhat like a human. It was not like a robotic voice. In that sense, it sounded like a human, but in another sense, it also sounded like a spam call. Like if I didn't know any better, if I hadn't seen that email or text, I would have been like, oh, this is some sales thing that I need to hang up on.
You gotta, I'm sorry to make you do this, but come on, you gotta do the voice.
Oh, yes. It was like, hello, I'm virtual recruiter Danielle, and I'm here to talk about the job you recently applied for. And so what we found from job seekers who were getting these calls was exactly that experience where some people were like, is this a scam? Is this real? Is this a virtual recruiter thing real? Or are they just trying to get information from me?
Because obviously a lot of us, myself included, are getting those weird scam job offer texts. But the process Danielle went through is real.
It was just a little bit awkward in the sense that it would ask me a question like, what are your latest successes? Or tell me what experience you have that relates to this. And I would answer the question. And if I paused too long, it would assume that I was done. And it was like mid-sentence. And it would just be like, thank you. Tell me also about blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, I wasn't, but you can't really interrupt it because it's not a human. It's already moved on to the next question.
From there, Danielle's interview only got worse.
There were some moments where it couldn't quite understand the context of what I was saying. So the next question asked a question of what I had already discussed inadvertently in the first question. The first question, I guess I covered too much. And then it said, so tell me why this da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, I just said that, but I'll say it again. And so then I just started repeating because I wasn't sure, like, did it not get that? Is it going to grade me if I say, well, I already answered that? Is it going to count against me? By the end of my interview, it allowed me to ask questions, which I was really excited about because I was like, oh, good. Like the machine's allowing me to ask questions. And I asked some pretty basic questions like, what are the hours like? And what are the pay? The job description didn't exactly give me a sense of hours and pay. And it was like, I will relay those to our human recruiter and they'll get back with you. And I was like, oh, we don't know the job. Okay, cool. And then I was like, I have another question. It was like, thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Now, that was just one job with one company, but Danielle has seen a lot of virtual recruiters. And then there are the AI screening tools that might match skill sets and AI applicant assessments, which could monitor whether someone made eye contact or seemed approachable. Not to mention the ways applicants themselves are using AI.
job seekers use it to help them answer interview questions during the interview. So they'll run something like ChatGPT in the background while the interviewer's talking, and ChatGPT is kind of helping them answer the question. They're just reading off the answer.
Whoa. Across a broad range of industries, AI is now part of the job search process. And for younger workers, it's part of the job itself. Today on the show, how much should that make you worry? I'm Lizzie O'Leary, and you're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around.
If you're running a business, you know every customer matters. Whether you're a one-person operation or have a large team that needs better collaboration tools, OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer, and your team can share one number and collaborate on customer calls and texts like a shared inbox. Plus, OpenPhone's AI agent can be set up in minutes to handle calls after hours, answer questions, and capture leads, so you never miss a customer. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone to manage their business's calls and texts. OpenPhone is offering What Next TBD listeners 20% off the first 6 months at openphone.com/TBD. That's OPENPHONE.com/TBD. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Do you struggle with procrastinating? You know, when you put off doing something that could save you a ton? Well, Mint Mobile's best deal of the year is ending soon. 50% off unlimited premium wireless for new customers. That's a good reason to stop being a procrastinator. Even Slate's President Charlie Kammerer is using Mint Mobile, and he says more people should be trying this out. It was really easy to switch providers. The SIM card was shipped to his home. They let him use his existing phone. He didn't have to change his phone number. He is on the $15 a month deal and is getting unlimited talk and text over their 5G network at literally a fraction of what he was paying with someone else. Stop overspending with big wireless and cut your wireless bill to $15 per month when you switch to Mint Mobile. All Mint Mobile plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. But hurry, because this deal ends September 22nd. Quit stalling and start saving when you make the switch. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/whatnext. That's mintmobile.com/whatnext. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I want to set a baseline here because I think it's important to lay out what the job market looks like broadly in the economy right now, and then what it looks like for people who are just entering the workforce.
It's a really interesting time. The latest job reports obviously was weak. The number of jobs added was less than people expected. Unemployment ticked up to a high rate, basically high, since 2021, we haven't seen this kind of unemployment. So that was concerning. But then when you zero into specifically young people, it's even more concerning. And there's a couple things on that. First of all, according to the census data on summer jobs with young people, basically, we saw an increase in unemployment there. I think it was 10% up from 9%. But we also saw a couple of reports come out. The first one was from Oxford, and they were talking about that there's some evidence to suggest that AI may already be causing job loss for college graduates. So they saw the unemployment rate for recent college graduates rise 1.6 percentage points since mid-2023. And so that's a triple increase of the national unemployment rate. So that's much higher than what we're seeing for other ages.
A growing body of research points to the negative effects AI is having on employment opportunities for young people. A recent Stanford study says employment for young workers in, quote, AI-exposed industries, like software development, was 13% lower than in other fields. In your reporting, when you talk to young people who are, new in the workforce or getting into the workforce, are they freaked out about AI?
I would say the story has changed over time. Maybe like a year or year and a half ago, I talked to some folks that were kind of rethinking their strategy towards jobs and careers and what they specialized in school because of this AI boom that was happening. And they were like, oh, I think I talked to one college grad at the time. She was just about to graduate. And she was talking about how, she's a software engineer, but she's going to add hardware to her specialty. I think she was going to go to grad school because she realized if she had that sort of more manual piece of the pie, that would make her more valuable. And she was worried as a software engineer entry level, the bar might be higher because AI is doing some of the easier things for engineers now. And she thought the bar might be too high for her just because AI came out at the same time that she was going through school. Now, when I talk to them, where they've been using it for the past 2 years themselves, they've been using it in their schoolwork. They know it exists. They know how to use it, sometimes better than we know how to use it. It's really interesting because they're coming into the workforce, number one, expecting to use it because they already know how to sort of like how it aided them through school or through simple tasks at home or whatever. So they know how to bring it to the workplace. And then two, I kept asking like, are you afraid that this is going to, do anything to your job? Or like, are you afraid that you're going to learn, like you're going to lose some of the skills you learned?
Yeah.
Because, skill atrophy is really a concern among a lot of people with AI. And, they're really not. They're like, look, I know what I bring to the table and I know what AI brings to the table. And I know that I know how to leverage AI to help me do my job. And then I know how to do the things that AI can't do better than AI can ever do. But AI will never be able to put the personal touch that I can put.
One thing that has come across in your reporting is really like the idea of saving time to do other more creative skills. Like you wrote about a product analyst for a healthcare company who was saying, he used Gemini, he got the answers he needed, and then he was able to do like creative brainstorming. It was very interesting to me because I am not someone who does that. Like I want to be in the weeds. And I guess I'm wondering, like, is saving time really the thing that you hear come out the most? What is it that is so appealing?
It is, I would say, twofold. One, probably saving them a lot of time on that stuff that would normally take them, reading a 25-page report versus having AI do it in 2 seconds, depending on your reading pace, could take you, an hour. I don't know. And then allowing them that space to do other things that they enjoy or things that require, like you said, more creative thinking or more human touch or whatever it may be. Or in some cases, really helping them with the work that they're struggling with. In the case of like, when we talked to our super users, it was like, when we have too many marketing campaign ideas and we need to like whittle it down, or like I need to like come up with this text really quickly and AI can do it faster. And then I can just go through and edit it to be exactly what I need it to be instead of writing the first draft.
Is this a skill that companies are looking for, or that they assume that a 25-year-old applicant already has?
So it's really interesting because I first covered a story where we saw it was mostly tech companies being like, oh, if you don't have AI skills, you can't work here. Like, you got to be on top of it. But I mean, in a lot of ways, that made a lot of sense because they're tech companies. They want people to be on the bleeding edge of tech. AI is currently the new thing. If you don't know, then you're kind of behind the times. But then we started seeing it pop up in like regular, and when I say regular jobs, I mean maybe non-tech oriented jobs. I think I saw it in like Rooms to Go, which is like a furniture store. And the job was like some director of business, or I forget what the job title was, but it was a non-engineering job. And then I saw it pop up in like Wingstop, which is like a national wing chain. it popped up in one of those jobs. And it was like, again, on the business side of things, not on the technical side of things. So I did start noticing it pop up. So I, checked with LinkedIn and Indeed, and sure enough, they both reported a rise in AI keywords in job descriptions. And that was including in heavily in non-technical roles. So customer service roles, marketing roles, writing roles, things like that. As far as do people expect young people to know it, I don't know if employers necessarily expect that, but I do think what I can say is that there are a growing number of employers looking for that, and some even expecting it, adding it sometimes as like a bonus, like as a candidates will stand out kind of thing if you have this, and some literally putting it as a must-have in the requirements.
Before we get to some big kind of company and sector-wide things, I want to go back to this one question that comes up, I think, again and again, and especially around young workers, because one of the things you learn in your first few jobs is, for lack of a better word, how to do a job, thinking, how to work with other people, time management, how to solve problems, or maybe how your more experienced colleagues have solved a problem. And that brings up this idea of skills atrophy. When you talk to hiring managers, do they worry about that?
I think the thing that companies and hiring managers are focused on is efficiency, speed, lean. How quickly can we do things? How can we supercharge our organization? I think they're really focused on that. I think that's something that I see researchers very concerned with, because we do have some evidence to suggest in general, maybe not AI specific, but in general, that automation has the effect of possibly like lowering our skills. We saw the FAA basically put out guidance. This was several years ago to say, like, we need pilots to manually fly the planes more often, to have more experience manually flying the planes, because they were leaning so hard on the automation that they were worried this was leading to worse outcomes, possible crashes, possible crash landings, things like that. And so they actually said, new guidance. We need you to fly the planes more or have more training to do this, because we don't want you to forget how to fly the planes. And so a lot of researchers are studying this right now to see, like, does AI really do this? The debate is still ongoing. I think there's some early research to suggest it changes your brain activity, but it also depends on like how much you're relying on it, right? Is AI doing the whole thing for you? Or are you like working with AI to like push back, to ask more questions, to sort of co-develop things? Or are you just like outsourcing it to be like, AI, do this thing for me?
You and I are both journalists. I am not someone who would feel comfortable letting AI do research for me or summarize things for me, because for me, and I imagine for you as well, the price of making a mistake could be career ending. And I wonder how people are thinking about that now. Our occupation is very specific in this way, but, if it's doing a lot of document review for you as a first-year associate at a law firm, what if it gets something wrong?
Lizzie, you bring up a really good point, and I actually think of it even further in that respect as like, what if some medical assistant uses AI to summarize my patient summary and AI gets it wrong and it says that the doctor found no cancer in my body and there is cancer in my body and I die from cancer, right? Like, I see it as even life-threatening in some cases. Like, a small mistake can lead to like a big consequence, like life or death. So I am very like aware and concerned of this as well. I think employers and people who use AI will generally tell you they are also aware of it and that they also know to like double check things and to like not entirely rely on it. But how much is that actually happening in the grand scheme of things? That's hard to prove.
When we come back, the economy is in a deeply uncertain moment. Is AI a big factor or a scapegoat? This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue makes it easy to get creative with your personal style and find the best arrivals for fall. Whether you're trying out the latest fashion trends or curating a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. Saks makes shopping feel personal. Their trusted in-store stylists are there to guide and inspire you, helping you find pieces that fit every aspect of your lifestyle. Prefer online shopping? Saks.com offers a curated selection tailored to your taste. From new arrivals by your favorite designers like Prada jackets and Gucci loafers to stylish pieces for your everyday needs. Whether it's date night, a vacation, a special occasion, or just lounging in style, Saks helps you find the perfect look for every occasion. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day. Have you ever wondered about the digital infrastructure that powers today's biggest tech trends? Interconnected, a new video and podcast series from Equinix, offers a rare look at the technology driving the innovations of tomorrow. From the edge compute and cloud systems to ultra-reliable networks and everything in between. Through candid conversation with industry experts and visionary thinkers, Interconnected's hosts guide you through emerging megatrends in tech, the infrastructure making them possible, and the connected future they're shaping. They dive deep into the systems behind AI, automation, quantum, and beyond. The first episode of Interconnected covers the AI renaissance in the medical field. You'll hear about world-changing breakthroughs in healthcare, including rapid diagnostics, personalized medicine, optimized clinical research, and supercharged drug discovery. Promising developments only made possible by the infrastructure that supports the computational models. Join the discussion on how society would not be on the verge of an AI-assisted medical renaissance without the near-instantaneous network of interconnected data systems. Discover the digital infrastructure powering today's biggest tech trends with Interconnected. Follow Interconnected on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's safe to say that the economy is in a delicate place. The administration's widespread tariffs have created chaos and concern across multiple industries. President Trump is also attacking the independence of the Federal Reserve. On Wednesday, the Fed cut its benchmark interest rate by 1/4 point, and investors expect more cuts in the future. But couple that with shaky unemployment numbers and whispers of the dreaded stagflation, and companies are left trying to navigate an uncertain future. Increasingly, they mention replacing workers with AI.
We definitely have heard this louder call for this idea that AI is a threat to everyone's job, right? Like we're hearing more and more CEOs say it. I will say oftentimes we see it from CEOs who are trying to show that they're on the leading edge of the technology, whether they're the makers of the technology or they're trying to basically signal to their investors, look how forward thinking we are and how amazing we are. Now, I'm not saying that that's not accurate. That could still be an accurate statement, even though they're broadcasting it for a certain look or whatever it may be. But the question we're really trying to answer is, can AI actually replace a human, like a full job? And I think maybe on some lower routine tasks, if you're the person that has to move files to a different folder every day. That's probably something, if that's your only task in your job, that's probably something AI could do pretty easily and arguably pretty accurately. You might still want a supervisor to make sure all the files ended up in the right folder, but generally speaking, AI could probably replace that job. Is there a job that only has that task? I don't know. Most jobs are, made up of a variety of tasks, and AI is really good at solving some of them. So the question then becomes, if AI can task replace, how many of my tasks can it replace? And at what point does it become advanced enough to completely replace me? And I think we're still trying to see a place where it can entirely replace a human.
But it also doesn't seem totally consistent, right? So last year, the fintech company Klarna said they were going to invest heavily in AI. But then this year, their CEO said they had reduced the headcount by 40% thanks to attrition and AI. But now they're walking some of this stuff back. So it feels like companies don't quite know where all this is going to land.
I think that's true. And I think we're still in that experimental phase. I mean, the Klarna example is a great one. It's a sign of a company who went in gung-ho on AI and said, look, we're going to replace a bunch of people with this. It's going to be great. And then they said, oh, well, I think we were a little aggressive and maybe we need some more people to do some of this stuff because AI still needs a lot of supervision, even if you have it doing the things you want. So I think right now, a lot of this is still kind of like, how does it play out in reality? I think it's still a lot of companies taking different approaches, some more aggressive than others. And I think we're going to see that. We're going to see a lot of people maybe go aggressively in, pull back, maybe some wait too long and not go in and miss the boat. So I think right now, it's just kind of like everybody's trying to pilot something to see what works for them and what makes sense for them. But I don't think there's a clear answer to that question yet.
I was really struck by this MIT report that surveyed a bunch of companies and found that even after putting like $30 to $40 billion into generative AI, 95% of the organizations were getting no return. That to me was like, wait, sorry, 95% were getting nothing off of this? Like, it seemed like everyone was hopping on the train and didn't know why.
It's hard to say because I think a lot of the companies would argue, well, it's still early and we have to we
have to move.
It takes a
we
while.
Don't want to be left behind. Yeah.
Right. So, and they could be right. It could take time before we see the return on investment, or maybe it is overhyped. I don't know. We're sort of in this weird phase of seeing, is this a bubble? Is this overhyped? Or are we like in the Industrial Revolution, but for AI? So I do think that it's early days. Every researcher I've talked to has said it's early days. We need more data. We need to see where it lands. A lot of companies who are even taking aggressive approaches, it's we're like 2-3 years into it now. It's still early. 2 or 3 years since the debut, much less 2 or 3 years since adoption. So we'll have to kind of see how this plays out over time.
Organized labor has been one of, I would say, the few places where you have seen strong and organized pushback. Full disclosure, I am in the Writers Guild. Outside of unions, is there any way to gauge more broadly how American workers feel about AI?
So there are a lot of sentiment surveys around it, right? And I've covered it for a couple newsletters that we put out, and it does seem to be changing over time. It feels like for a long time, and I think this is probably still the case, there's still a lot of fear around AI and basically it taking jobs. And that's because, the companies making it and the companies adopting it are basically saying it's going to take your job. They're flat out saying that. So naturally that, of course, brings fear to workers who have those jobs, especially at a time when the economy is making it hard for people to make ends meet and hard for people to find jobs. The idea that their job could be disappearing due to tech is not something people want to hear right now. So that's the first thing. The other thing is I do think we're seeing more people, play with it or try it or, because they are realizing they're hearing so much of these threats that they're like, okay, I got to at least open up ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, their tool of choice and just see what it does because they're worried that this could maybe outdate them. So I do think, sentiment surveys have shown that people are afraid, but it also shows that people are slowly starting to use it a little bit more.
But Danielle says sentiment surveys aren't the most reliable way to gauge how people are feeling.
People say that they're using AI at work. A lot of times they're afraid to tell the truth. They may not have policies at work that allow them to use AI, or they may be told they can use AI, but they're afraid to show that maybe I'm not as needed or, it's doing 75% of the job. What if the executive actually doesn't applaud me for this, but actually tells me, well, we actually don't need you then. So how accurate are the sentiment surveys? You have to take that with a grain of salt because not everybody who uses it is going to say they're using it. Some people might be afraid. That's not to say that that's what's happening, but it's a real question to ask.
This gets me to this larger question that I've been thinking about. I graduated from college right before the dot-com bubble, and I saw a lot of friends move out to San Francisco and then subsequently lose their jobs. I reported on the financial crisis in 2008 and subsequent recession, and at these big economic inflection points, there are often things that are demonized, whether correctly or not. And I wonder where AI sits as sort of an economic boogeyman. Is it maybe absorbing some fear that really could be attributed to trade policy and, fight over the independence of the Federal Reserve? Or is it also legitimate fear that, oh my God, this robot ate my job? Like I'm trying to understand how we should think about it in this economic moment.
It's super interesting because I think yes and no. Let me explain myself. Yeah. So in some ways, is it a real threat to jobs or how we do our jobs? It might be, right? It might be. We are seeing that it can do certain things and it's only getting smarter. How much smarter can it get? We'll see. And how aggressive are executives going to be with implementing it? It could be a threat to some people's jobs. The second thing is, yes, we're at a really interesting time in the economy where companies are stretched and they're worried and they don't know where their next dollar, if their next dollar is going to come, if they're going to have to pay higher taxes, if they're going to be subject to tariffs, how that's going to affect things. And so oftentimes it can be a scapegoat, right? It can be, oh, well, AI is just helping us be more efficient when really we just don't want to hire right now, or we're scared because we don't know what's going to hit us next, or maybe we need to cut some people just because things are not looking too rosy. And again, it allows them the chance to say, well, we're on the bleeding edge. Look at how amazing we are. Is it really happening because of AI? That's really hard to pinpoint because we know, during a sour economy, people stop hiring. We know they cut down on employees. So how much of that is just economic indicators, just economic factors causing this? And how much of it also propels them to maybe adopt AI as a way out? That's actually kind of historically what we've seen is technology really gets adopted, especially in hard economic conditions, right? Because it promises maybe more efficiency. And if there's even a promise of that, it's worth trying.
Danielle, thank you so much for your reporting and for talking with me. It's fascinating.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. I kind of nerd out on this, so this is a really fun discussion.
Danielle Abril is a reporter for The Washington Post. All right, that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Patrick Fort, Paige Osborne, and Shayna Roth. Our show is edited by Evan Campbell. Mia Lobel is executive producer here at Slate, and TBD is part of the larger What Next family. We will be back next week with more episodes. I'm Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.
That's the sound of the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron and the quiet confidence of ultra-smooth handling. The elevated interior reminds you this is more than an EV. This is electric performance redefined.
Every minute your finance team spends wrestling with data is a minute lost. Insight Software's AI-powered insights instantly move you from complexity to clarity. Automated analysis, real-time reporting, strategic recommendations, all at your fingertips. Transform how your finance team works and watch your business grow. Stop wasting time. Start making smarter decisions. Learn more at insightsoftware.com/AI.